Jambo, and Karibu. Today we're talking about our trip to Africa. Well, East Africa. And really it was only Tanzania and Kenya. And even in Kenya we only went to Nairobi, and we were really only in the Serengeti in Tanzania. Doesn't matter. It was our trip to a small part of some parts of Africa. Flight was from Atlanta to Frankfurt and then to Nairobi. It's about 8 hours-ish each leg. We flew Lufthansa. It was a long trip. We booked our flights with Scott's Cheap Flights, and they got us a screaming good deal. It was like half what it would have been if we had booked it regularly. It was really fantastic. I'll put a link down in the description below for Scott's Cheap Flights. They have flight deals from wherever you are to wherever you're going. The first place we went to in Nairobi was Nairobi National Park. And if you're in Nairobi for any amount of time, we were only there about 36 hours. If you're there any amount of time, be sure to take at least a half-day safari, drive in, go see as many animals as you can. They have the big five except for elephants because it's not big enough, but it's a fantastic national park that you can see the skyline from. We saw a lion roar, a wild African lion roar from 20 yards away, and the noise that that animal made was, it was life-changing. Like I can't describe how seeing that made me feel. After Nairobi National Park, we went to the Giraffe Center and got to feed some giraffes. Obviously they're tall and lanky and all that, but their heads on their bodies look so small until they're coming down to eat from your hand. The next day we flew into Kilimanjaro International Airport, where we were picked up by our tour company. Thompson Safaris really, you'll see a lot of what we saw, and the whole time we were with them, it was one nice thing after another. Stuff kept happening, and we were like, wow, that's really fantastic. They thought about everything. Thompson Safaris is really an A+ company, and not only their service to us and our accommodations, but also their service to their communities and the Tanzanian people. We really enjoyed everyone who we encountered and everywhere we stayed, and it was, we kept saying it's a once-in-a-lifetime trip, but after staying with Thompson, there's no way it can be the only time. After leaving Arusha and flying to Waso, we drove to Enoshiva, and it's a farm that Thompson owns on the edge of Tanzania and Kenya. This fantastic piece of land that has so many different animals on it, and the accommodations are situated in a place that overlooks this valley and these sweeping hills. And our first evening there, on our final drive before dinner, we were driving around and we came up upon this table that was situated in the middle of the Serengeti in this field, and it was for us. They had set up drinks and snacks for us to enjoy and watch the sunset, and as we were sitting there, these giraffes just walked up to our party and hung out with them. It was 7 or 8 of them. It was really magical. We thought that, we saw that and was like, wow, that's it. This is the first night, but they've really outdone themselves. And the next night, we hadn't seen any elephants yet, and we were watching a couple animals, and our guide Leonard, he says, "Did you hear that?" I think I hear elephants. And we drove around this bluff, and we just found these, this family of 20 elephants. They were all sitting there in the bush, and we followed them for a little bit, and we saw them cut across the field as the sun was setting, and we got to see this fantastic elephant sunset. The next place we stayed was the Central Serengeti, Nyumba, and We spent 2 days driving around Serengeti National Park, and that was, I mean, just the number of animals. We saw this lioness and her 2 cubs. Leonard, our guide, told us that they were about a month old or something. They were teeny tiny and they were cuddling up on her. I mean, it didn't look real. We got to see this huge group of hippos, and we got to see them stand off against this one that was kind of coming in. They made these loud noises and were splashing water at each other. It was just something else. Next, we drove to Ngorongoro, which is our last Nyumba, and the crater is just a landmark or something that I can't even describe. I mean, it's when you're down in the crater, you look around and it's just like a row of mountains. It's like a perpetual valley, and we stayed up along the rim, and this camp was in this dense jungle, which was completely different than staying in the Serengeti. And it was chilly, but it was really nice. We had this view through these trees to watch the sunset, and we stopped at some overlooks as we went down into the crater. We did get to see some rhinos. They were really far away, but it was cool to see them in person. We saw so many animals on this trip. Be sure to tell us in the comments which one's your favorite. Sadly, Ngorongoro was the last stop on our safari, but it wasn't the end of our vacation. We went back to Arusha and flew to Zanzibar, archipelago along the Indian Ocean on the coast of Tanzania. We stayed in Stone Town for a night and did a walking tour around Stone Town, which was really cool. Next, we drove up to Nungwi and basically beach bummed it. We stayed in this hotel and hung out by the pool and walked along the beach, and we did a Menemba tour. We took a boat out to this small island off the east coast of Zanzibar that we were on, and did some snorkeling around some reefs, and then on our way back we went on the outside of the reef and caught up with some wild dolphins, and we got to swim with some wild dolphins, and that was a crazy experience. Going, you know, we're in this very small boat, and the captain is saying, all right, get ready, and then go, and you just gotta jump. After Zanzibar, we flew back into Nairobi, and we were only there, I mean, it was honestly 24 hours. We landed in the evening and got to our hotel, and just before we left for the safari, we got word that Sheldrick Wildlife Trust was gonna open back up while we were on the safari. We were able to get a slot. I've been fostering an elephant for Katie for a couple of years, and we follow her, Zawadi, and when we got the word that we could sign up and they were opening, Katie was emailing furiously, you know, trying to get a spot, and we did. We got to spend some time with Zawadi. They told us all of the elephant stories and when they're gonna try and reintroduce them into the wild. I'm gonna throw a link in the description for the Wildlife Trust for sure. You can check them out and adopt yourself or someone you love an elephant. They do some really great work. Well, that's it for Africa. Well, our trip to just a part of Africa. We had so much fun, and if you want any more information, be sure to ask us about it in the comments or leave us a message. We'll see you in the next adventure.